Ooh, it's me, the ghost of past promises. Ookie spooky. Just kidding, it's me, and I have a plate with a sandwich on it. But in all seriousness, today I want to talk about some promises that the Ponytown developers have made before in the past that they still haven't followed up on. This isn't in any way to be like, hey, you guys, what are you doing? You guys are lazy or this or that or whatever else. It's not an attack or anything like that. It's just something that I wanted to highlight because there are a few promises that they've made in the past that it doesn't seem like we've seen any news on in multiple years. So let's go ahead and start off with tables. Many years ago, it was promised that we would eventually be able to place things on tables because we could not previously. But as you can see here on this map, it does look like I can do that. However, if I want to take this large pumpkin and move it to the top right corner of this table, I actually can't do that because it removes it from the table. This isn't because of, oh, I placed the table first or the pumpkin first or anything like that. It's just physically because for whatever reason, I can't put stuff exactly where I want on a table. It's very, very specific on where you can put it at a table. This is a very good example of a table that was done really well. But some older tables, such as this small one right here, can have physically nothing on it no matter where you try to place it. Again, if we take like a stick or something and try to put it on there, you can see that it's physically not allowing me to put anything on this table whatsoever, and it's just overall a disaster. The earliest I can see any kind of promise on tables eventually being able to have things placed on them is September 2nd of 2020. That was 3 years ago, which is insane to think about. But 3 years ago, they promised that tables would eventually have this functionality. And to a certain extent, they have somewhat followed up on the promise because as you can see, some of the tables you can place things up rather high. But again, if I try to put stuff even just a little bit higher than this, it will just not be on the table anymore. And that is such a shame, honestly. So yeah, let's move on to the second promise, which has to do with something that we'll have to go to the main map for, because the second promise leads us to the mini-map. Now, this mini-map is a little bit newer than some of the other stuff that we have in the promise land. This mini-map is a newer promise to, you know, the players of Ponytown and everything like that. But essentially, when this was added way back in December 1st of 2021, so it's been about a couple of years, really. You could argue that it's been like maybe 1 year. But this was promised that it would come to all players eventually, starting off with only the Patreon supporters, Tier 2 and above, I believe. So Tier 2 and above have this mini-map where they can see how many players are on the islands or how many players are in the bakery. Or, oh, look at that, there's one of my friends over there, because they're green dots and that's where friends are. People in your party are blue dots, and there's all kinds of stuff like that. So it's got some really neat functionality and stuff to it, and it is very helpful because, like, here's the swimming pool. Did you guys know there was a swimming pool in Ponytown? It's way down here. Or did you know there's ruins? There's ruins way down here. All kinds of stuff like that. So it can be super helpful to determine where certain things are and everything, and it's such a shame that this hasn't properly been finished or anything like that. Of course, they haven't had as much time to work on it. But we have, like, I guess the majority of the buildings we're going to get. It would be nice for them. Oh, I got another friend over there. Look at that. There's another friend over there now. But it would just be nice for them to finally come onto the mini map and be like, hey, let's just go ahead and finish this mini map, because I don't know, I mean, it's been promised to be finished and released to everyone else, and so right now it's kind of in a weird area where, like, you basically have to pay for this mini-map, and that just honestly feels super weird to me. But it is what it is, and it's another one of those promises that haven't been filled up on yet, that haven't been fulfilled yet. So the third promise here on my list of promises that have yet to be fulfilled on is minigames. Now, this one is the most understandable of them all, and I can't actually find an exact date of when it was promised, but if you actually go to the Ponytown Patreon and look at the description, it does say that they will eventually add minigames to the game. What are these minigames going to be like? Well, I would hope it would be something fun, like the boat to Brazil, or even something like Vibe Squares, or something like that, right? There's all kinds of different minigames that I've made before in the past, and things that I've theorized that we could have in the past, things that I can't physically create in Ponytown, but they could, because they could just code things. But it would be awesome to finally see minigames in the game, or at least some kind of hint or a teaser or something, some kind of idea of what these minigames are going to be like. If nothing else, they could come on and be like, these games are going to be like this, they're going to be multiplayer games, or there's going to be single player games, or there's going to be this kind of experience or this kind of experience, and just leave it at that. But those are three promises that Ponytown have yet to fulfill on, and they are quite old. I would love to see them finally come back to these ideas and these systems and stuff, and finally just focus on those. Because as it is right now, the game is in a situation now where I think it's complete enough where they can go back to these older ideas, such as the tables and the mini-map and stuff like that, and finally finish those before moving on to other things. I don't know fully what they have planned or what fully they're going to be doing here in the near future, but it would be nice if we could see or hear for a fact, for certainty, that they're finally working on these specific things versus, you know, other random things like adding more items to the island or adding more cosmetics to the character customization and all that other jazz. It'd be nice to see them finally go back to these promises and focus on those instead of all of these newer things. Obviously, we need newer things, but I feel like these promises are old enough now that we should probably kind of just hold back on newer items and stuff like that and finally maybe come back to these promises and finish them, no matter how hard they may be, or at least fulfill on one of them. But there you go, there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It is rather short because there isn't that many promises that I can really find that they haven't really fulfilled on yet. But if you have any in the comments below that you've seen developers talk about before in the past, and you have proof that they've mentioned it before in the past and promised it before in the past, let me know in the comments below, and maybe I can make another video talking about those promises as well. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and doing all of those wonderful things like that, because when you do wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become wonderful yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful. Pumpkin. I like that. That's a fun name.